The Chicago Sun-Times calls it one of the best Bond films ever, and Entertainment Weekly calls it the savviest and most exciting Bond adventure in years. I'm willing to bet that they're more than ready to recant those statements now. Let's dispense with the niceties. This film sucks. But before we get to that, we have the synopsis of the 20th entry of the Bond franchise, Lee Tamahori's 2002 film, Die Another Day. Bond is held prisoner by the North Koreans, specifically General Moon, for about a year and is tortured repeatedly because General Moon believes Bond to be responsible for the death of his son, Colonel Moon. So after about a year or so of torture, Bond is traded for Zhao, the now diamond-studded associate of none other than the dead Colonel Moon. So, Bond escapes MI6 confinement and chases after Zhao, only to find him in Havana at a gene therapy clinic of all places, trying to change his appearance to that of a Caucasian Brit. Zhao escapes, however, but leaves behind some fake conflict diamonds, courtesy of one Gustav Graves, an international diamond magnate, who is revealed to be none other than the thought-to-be dead Colonel Moon, who underwent this aforementioned gene therapy and basically modeled himself based on Bond's insecurities. So, Bond teams up with Jinx, a CIA agent, gets back into MI6's good graces, and goes to Iceland to investigate Graves. It turns out that Graves' plan is to use Icarus, his solar satellite, to slice through the DMZ, allowing for a full North Korean invasion. Yeah, sounds just peachy. But Bond and Jinx manage to save the day by, well, taking Graves' plane, flying it through the solar beam, and then shredding Graves, who's wearing like this clunky satellite control rig that looks like something out of RoboCop, through one of the jet engines. Oh, that's convoluted. So, what the film's trying to say is if you want to be successful and help your former homeland take over its inferior half, what you need to do is turn yourself white, so you'll be wealthy and internationally recognized. I think that actually might be what the film is trying to say. That's... wow, no. To say the least, I mean, Zhao looks like a diamond-studded albino for most of the film, which might send a message of whitewashing in mainstream action films to Asian audiences. I mean, the guy who plays Zhao is going to be in the upcoming Man with the Iron Fists, which does look like Kung Fu exploitation, but I'm probably going to see it anyways because it's a Tarantino production, and... Can we get back on track here? Sorry, but the anniversary business is one of the problems I have with the film, because the film seems to be saying, hey, look at this cool thing, remember that from when it was in that Bond film? Well, that's just great, because this area doesn't have too much memorable, so let's just reminisce on the nostalgia, shall we? No, I don't want to do that. You're just cramming so much in there. I mean, the satellite and diamonds could be a nod to Diamonds Are Forever. Halle Berry pulls an Ursula Andress-like stunt a la Dr. No. Graves has a Union flag parachute reminiscent of the opening of Spy Who Loved Me, and Q's lab has a number of gadgets from prior films, like Rosa Kleb's shoe from Russia with Love, the jetpack from Thunderball, and the microjet and crocodile float thing from Octopussy. And, of course, there is a nod to the inspiration for Bond, an ornithology book. It's a bit too referential, if you ask me. And yes, of course, the film has the now traditional tricked-out watch and tricked-out Aston Martin, which, by the way, has a camouflage mode wherein it could turn invisible using cameras and whatnot. Scientists today are still working on the invisibility issue, so I'm calling bullshit on that. And yes, I know it's just a movie, and I'm supposed to suspend my disbelief, but I just can't, so I'm calling bullshit on it. And the ejector seat car flip stunt? Yeah, that was busted by the Mythbusters. Science, bitches! My other big problem is with the overabundance of shoddy CGI. As you can see behind me, it starts with Catwoman diving off a promontory, continues to a fight with lasers in the background, moves on to what you can see behind me, an escape from a solar beam and melting ice, and ends with a decaying plane of sorts. It's just obvious and noticeable and just bad, I would say. Especially the dive and the impromptu parasailing bit. In regards to the women, they've got depth, but I just have this issue with, I guess, the way they're written, if you will. I mean, Madonna as a fencing instructor? What the... I mean, yeah, Rosamund Pike's Miranda Frost has, you know, some depth, of course, as she turns out to be a double agent, which is revealed after she and Bond stayed together, even though she told Bond, I'm afraid you'll never have that pleasure. Halle Berry's Agent Jinx can handle herself well, and does handle herself well in her fight against Frost, and then she stabs her with a knife embedded in a copy of The Art of War, but Bond has to rescue her twice prior to that, but that's after they sleep together. But I've got some smaller gripes. Bond is allowed back into MI6 a little too easily, probably because he's just Bond. And there are two simulation sequences that really kind of get to me. The first is a hostage crisis, and M is grazed by a bullet. And so Bond tells Q, it's just a flesh wound, probably in reference to the fact that Cleese was the Black Knight in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The second is towards the end of the film, when Moneypenny is finally getting some Bond action, except it's a simulation. Dirty Moneypenny. TLDR, it sucks. But you know, Matt Myra agrees with us. And how do you know that? Because he live tweeted film commentary, and because he chatted about it, and I chatted about it with him at the Nerdist taping this past weekend in New York City. And Guillermo del Toro was there too. But, Guillermo! Looking back over the Brosnan era, it's clear to me that Die Another Day is the worst of it. The era itself has seemed to have been Bond constantly adapting and trying to find his footing in the post-Cold War world, which kind of got old fast. I mean, sure, the music from David Arnold is pretty solid, and Michael Madsen makes an appearance, but I found myself just not caring about this Bond, the plot, or the fact that the theme song from Madonna name-dropped Sigmund Freud. The film seems to be sloppy, if not sloppier than GoldenEye. It has faulty physics, stereotypical slow-mo and action zooms, and a number of plot holes and illogical moments. It was just an unsatisfying viewing experience overall. Next week I finally get to pull this off the shelf as we enter the Daniel Craig era of the... Head start, anybody? And before you go, viewers, here's a quick poll. 1. Who's your favorite Bond? 2. What's your favorite Bond film, either overall or for each Bond? 3. What is your least favorite Bond film, again, either overall or for each actor? So, get back to me either down in the comments or on Twitter or Tumblr or what have you as soon as you can, and I will compile all those for the end of the Bondathon. So, we will see you again next week for the start of the Daniel Craig era. See you then.